Celestial blessings. My name is Helen Demetriou, and I hope that you're all having a wonderful day. And remember that I love you very, very much. And thank you for watching my videos. Now, today I wanted to talk about the mysteries of Sumer and Babylon. And the reason why I wanted to find the root of all of the religions or all of the beliefs and the gods in the different pantheons is because I noticed that many of the gods were there were many comparisons. There were many gods the same. Like in every pantheon there is a savior or a hero, or there is a goddess of love, war and passion and fertility and lust, etc. And I found that they were all connecting, and I wanted to find where did all these stories come from. And when I began to research, obviously also my gods, the Anunnaki gods, was telling me, you have to go back to the root of the tree of life. And it took me to Sumer, which is modern day Iraq. I mean, even the stories in the Bible, in the Old Testament, they all come from Sumer or Babylon. Even the laws of Moses, it was already written by Hammurabi. So I wanted to find the root of the tree of life, that when it landed on earth, and from there where it dispersed and manifested. And I wanted to learn the beginning of this and the mysteries. So I began to read the true translations of the Sumerian tablets. Now I have to remind you that the Sumerians were the first civilization on earth. They were the first to read and write. They were the first to have law. They were the first to have schools, to work the land, agriculture. They were the first to write about the gods, and they were the first to share the stories and the allegories and the mysteries. And there were many scribes. The Sumerians and Babylonians, they were fanatics on writing down everything. They recorded everything. And, thank goodness for us that they did, because from them we learn so many things. And we can see that these stories were written in order to help us to live our lives in a spiritual way, but also to keep our world free of tyrants and dictators. Now we learn from the first tablets from Sumer about how the earth was created and how humanity was created. And I've made a video similar to this about who are the Anunnaki, and I explain how Father Enki, who is the father of humanity, he created with the goddess Ninmah, also known as Ninhursag. They created humanity, but first they created different kinds of humans. I'm not saying that they were not all equal or were not all the same, but some were genderless, or some were crippled. I hope that this is not or deformed. I'm trying not to offend anybody. I'm just trying to explain that we see in these writings that they created all different kinds of humans, and all of them that were given a job to do. They were all kept close to the gods, like the one that was genderless or had two sexes, which you could say is bisexual, you could say is gay, or there's some that they couldn't walk. They kept them in the temple with the gods. They resided with the gods. So for me, all I could see from this was all of this trash that these religions, the Abrahamic religions, have said about that you have to be a certain way, is a load of garbage, because it says the gods created these humans exactly how they are, and they loved them all the same, and they were all welcome. They lived in the temple with the gods, they resided with the gods, and they had responsibilities, big responsibilities. So this was something that really lit the spark of hope, of truth within me, because I can't accept any kind of god or goddess that is not going to accept all different kinds of humans. This is impossible, and I refuse to believe there is a God that would reject any human being based on what they were created, how they were created, what they are, how they were born. So after this story of them creating the first man and woman, I went on to the Babylonian stories, and then we have the story called the Enuma Elish, which is the son of Enki, and they talk about Marduk. Now, this story explains. Now, you must understand that this is not war on the divine feminine. It is a story that is trying to explain what happened with the gods and how it affected humanity. Now, in the Enuma Elish, it tells us that the mother goddess is Tiamat, and she is supposedly a great dragon. Now, this doesn't mean that the Anunnaki are reptilians, okay? It's just explaining that she had these dragon attributes. Now, all of the gods, the children of Tiamat, lived within the belly of Tiamat. And you can also look up that Tiamat is Anangi or Ananki in the Greek pantheon, and she's a consort of Cronus. And Anangi means inevitability and fate. Now, they lived within the belly of Tiamat, so this was a created world where they resided, and they had to adhere to the fates given to them by Anangi, and they had no free will. They couldn't choose what they wanted to do. They weren't able to express their archetypes of the creator. They had to, everything was decided for them by Anangi, by Tiamat, and they didn't like this. They said, well, you know, we have no free will. This isn't right. Why should we live in this matrix created for us? We don't want to live in the belly of Tiamat. And so they were complaining, and the older gods, which you would say would be like the Greek Titans, they were in the ear of Tiamat, poisoning her against her children, and they were saying, you know, get rid of them, kill them, they're just causing trouble, they're more trouble than they're worth. So the gods, the children of the gods, they knew this, the Anunnaki, they knew what was happening, and they basically, they had enough. So they each tried to break away from this Anangi and to fight for their freedom. Now, please remember, this is an allegory. It is part of the Sumerian and the Babylonian mysteries, okay? It's not that the gods hated their own children and they wanted to kill them. So anyway, Marduk was the son of Enki, but before he was born, the gods were trying to escape from inevitability, from their fate and destiny already being decided for them. So Enki created, with Damkina, he went into a cave, into the Apsu, which is where he resided, with his wife, and they created Marduk. And we are told that in the Sumerian tablets that the goddess was pregnant for 9 days, and she gave birth on the 9th day. And it says how humans, they're pregnant for 9 months, but the gods for 9 days. So she gave birth to Marduk, and he was the hero of the people. He was said to have 4 eyes and 4 ears. That means not necessarily that he had 4 eyes and 4 ears. It means that he could see and hear all directions, and that he was he was taller than all the gods, he was mightier, and Enki held him up in the cave. Remember the story of Zeus, that Zeus was born in a cave? Lord Enki held him up and said, my son, my son, my son of the sun, because Marduk's other name is Amar Utu, which means the solar calf of the sun. And he and Enlil, they guided him on how to save the gods, how to save the gods from inevitability and from having no choice. So Marduk, he made a plan, and he cut the belly of Tiamat. He fought Tiamat, his great-grandmother. He cut the belly of Tiamat, and he freed the gods. Now, doesn't this sound like when Cronus ate he swallowed all of Zeus's brothers and sisters, and Zeus came and he got him to vomit them out of Cronus, of his father. So he frees the gods from the matrix. He frees the gods from inevitability. He frees the gods from this created world where they have no choices. They're given choices. So the gods escape and they have a war. And Tiamat had created so many different creatures, 7 creatures. And Marduk defeated them all. And he defeated Tiamat, which is in Anangi. It's also the Ouroboros, which is a non-ending cycle. So he broke this cycle of inevitability. And with her body, he created the heavens and the earth and everything else, the stars, the moon, and not the moon, the stars, the heavens, the universe, everything, because the moon was Nana and Ningal. So Marduk saved the gods. He gave them their chance to have free will, freedom to choose what they want to do, freedom to create. They were no longer enslaved by the laws of Tiamat and inevitability. Now, this explains a lot about the world that we're living in today. It's like we're living in the body of Tiamat, and we have no choices but the choices that are given to us. So in this allegory, we are being taught that should we ever enter a time when we are in the body of Tiamat, or this created false matrix where we have no choices, we are given the stories and the lessons and guidance on how to dissolve this matrix and escape from this time of having no free choices. It then goes on to say how because Marduk, he freed the gods, he defeated Tiamat, he created the earth and the heavens, there was a traitor called Kingu. And Kingu was one of the consorts of Tiamat. And he had told the Tiamat and the older gods beforehand what the gods planned. So what they did was they sacrificed him and they used his blood to create humanity. This is a story. You have to remember this, that it's not from the original story of Enki and Ninmah creating human beings. These are all allegories. It's to explain to us that we are divine. We was created by the ancient blood of the Anunnaki gods. We are gods. They're our family. They're our ancestors. We're their descendants. We're creators. We're architects, just as they are, because we come from them. So after this had happened, Marduk was given 50 new names, and he was also given the attributes of Enki and Enlil, who are brothers. And so Enki is Marduk's father and Enlil is Marduk's uncle, and he was given the attributes. So he became Jupiter. He became Nibiru, the name of Jupiter when it is in a certain point in the sky. And he was left to rule the world. When I say rule, I mean to manage it. Imagine you've got a hotel and you have a manager who's managing the hotel. It's the same thing. So he was left to manage the world, if you like, and keep it in balance with his consort Ishtar. Now, in many of the texts, we read how Ishtar, who is Inanna, and Marduk interchange. Like they would take swap each other's places. They would take each other's responsibilities, and they became worshipped as one being, as a god and goddess combined. So you can find that in the Bible when we're talking about Yahweh and Asherah. So they became known as Avatar, and they was worshipped as one god because they interchanged the different responsibilities. You know, she would be the morning star, he would be the evening star, which is Venus. You know, they took on each other's roles depending on what needed to be done. So we are told in these allegories that we were freed from of slavery, basically, of having no choice. There was no democracy. But what Marduk did was, when he gave the gods the choice of free will and the freedom, the escape from inevitability and the decided fate, he also enabled humanity to have freedom of choice, free will. And this is why this story is so important, because it explains to us that there is no chance that we should allow ourselves to live in this created reality in the belly of Tiamat. And it's not anything to do about, like I said, about patriarchy taking over, because Inanna, Ishtar, is his consort, and people they had a god and a goddess. I mean, if you look, when we go to Babylon, the king and queen of Babylon, the god and goddess of Babylon, was Marduk and Inanna, Ishtar. So there was balance, and this is what we need on Earth. This is what we're trying to do, and this is our mission at the Anunnaki Council and also Esophoria, is to bring balance back to it. We're trying to say to people, look, stop thinking with a patriarchal mentality. If you want balance, you have to bring this goddess back. This is the only way to destroy this matrix, to create our own world, and to help the merging of our world with the kingdom, queendom reality that is merging with our reality right now. So it's very important that we look at the stories from Sumer and Babylon, the Assyrians, the Chaldeans and the Persians, because they offer us invaluable guides left to us by the gods to learn how to live in this world and to get rid of tyrants and tyranny and dictators, because we're dictated to by the minority, and we have become a nation of sheeple. There's nothing wrong in being a sheep, in being a lamb, because even Marduk is depicted as the lamb, and so is Jesus, so is Mithras, so is Dionysus, because they're all the same god. So this is why it is important that we read their stories. Even if you don't believe what these stories say, you can find psychologically how they're going to help us in our day-to-day lives. And this was part of the lessons from the gods. And the thing is, this wasn't hidden from anybody, you know. This didn't belong to certain groups who thought that they could choose who is going to know this secret, this knowledge. It wasn't secret because everybody could read in Sumer and Babylon. Everybody was made to read, and everybody was made to read these tablets and know these stories. It's very, very important that they knew this. And this is what happened was, all these teachings were taken and hidden away by what we call the Dark Brotherhood, who became the elite of today. And this is why we became entrapped in this matrix, because we was dumbed down by the Abrahamic religions such as Islam, Judaism and Christianity. And there are there's belief systems such as the New Age belief system, which is another fake reality of how we should be, and it's stopping us from reaching our true potential and creating the world that we want. Now, we also have other stories. I mean, there's so many stories, believe me. There's a story about the descent of Inanna, and all the gods, they went on this descent because it was a form of initiation. And it goes on for the descent of Inanna to say that she passed into the underworld and she had to pass 7 gates and she had to remove 7 items, 7 archangels, 7 gods, 7 sisters of Pleiades, 7 chakras, 7 lampstands. There's so many things regarding the number 7 and its importance, especially when we're talking about the ziggurats of Marduk in Babylon, which is known as the Tower of Babylon or the Tower of Babel, Temenanki. It has 7 stories, and it's all about sacred geometry. And many of the returning gods or masters knew the importance of a Temenanki, especially Alexander the Great, who was also considered a god by many nations, especially the Egyptians. They saw him as a man god. And his goal was to rebuild a Temenanki because he venerated Marduk. He understood who Marduk was and his importance to the world, because Marduk taught about bringing equality and unity to the world. And if you look at what Alexander the Great did, he wanted to unite all countries and be one world, be one family. And this is what Marduk always promoted. You can see, if you look at the Cyrus cylinder, Cyrus was a king of Persia, and he was treating different people bad in lower classes and everything like this. And Marduk supposedly says to him, all people are equal. Every human is equal, whether they're poor, rich, slaves, anything, they're all equal. They all have value. Not one human is above another. And this is what Marduk was teaching, and what the cult of Marduk and his priesthood was teaching. And of course his cult spread throughout Europe. It was a huge religion, and obviously from there they did distort the true teachings, just like they do in any religion. It wasn't just the Abrahamic, also in the pagan religions, they would distort things in order to fulfill a certain agenda. So that is the story of creations, the creation stories, the allegories, the mysteries, and how their stories can help us to become more enlightened, and it can help us to go through the 7 steps of the Temenanki, how we can reach deep within ourselves to find the godhood within us, and our right to be here and to be free, that we are the children of the gods, and no man-made laws has any hold or authority over us. And that it's becoming more apparent, because now we have to start doing something. We can't continue to live in this society with the way it is. I mean, it's disgusting. The media, if you look at all the music videos, all the occult symbolism, it's just disgusting, because it's all just to brainwash. I mean, if you look at Keisha and I can't remember the song exactly. I want to die young, we're gonna die young, whatever. Or all of Lady Gaga videos, or Nicki Minaj. All of them have this occult symbolism, and they're all of them puppets of the elite. If you don't believe me, just go and look at their videos. And it's not them expressing. Don't you think it's a bit strange how they're all of these singers have got all the same kind of symbolism? The all-seeing eye, for example, the black and white, the temple columns. And this is not having a dig at the Masons, this is having a dig at the elite. And this is brainwashing our children. The media is brainwashing our children to enforce their will on us and on our society. And if you think that this is a theory and it's a conspiracy, all you have to do is look yourself. You know, you don't have to listen to me. If you're on YouTube, you're free to look at those things. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about the message of the Anunnaki and their teachings is, along came Zecharia Sitchin, and he was a Mason. He was also noted to have been attending the Bohemian Grove, which is a elite retreat where they go to have meetings and perform rituals to empower their sick agendas on humanity. And what he did is he took the translations and he changed them, and he even said that he changed them in order to make them more entertaining and to make them more interesting. But what he did was he created a conflict in the polarities. Like, he told many lies. He said that Nibiru was a planet. It's not a planet. It's a place on Earth, in Eden, in Dilmun, and it was a sanctuary of Nibiru. And we know this because in the tablets, the true translations, they say about the gods going to Nibiru that it was a place of no death, nobody got old, nobody got sick, nobody went hungry. It was like a paradise. He also said that Ishtar, Inanna, and Marduk were at war with each other and fighting for the leadership of Earth. This also is complete and utter garbage. It is utter garbage because they're twin flames, and their role and mission is to bring balance to Earth. And what he's trying to say is he's trying to put man and woman at war with each other again. He's trying to impress more this war between the divine masculine and feminine in the minds of humankind. They don't want us to have balance, because if we have balance, we're winning. We're dissolving their matrix. He also said that Anu went against his children and his grandchildren and took allies with, I don't know, the reptilians or something. This is complete and utter garbage, because in all of the tablets, when there was wars in heaven, which the gods went to war with beings that were trying to take over Earth, and they were trying to destroy humanity, Anu was the one that was giving directions for his children, his grandchildren, and for humanity. We're also told that it was Anu who wanted to give humanity eternal life. So he comes along with his garbage, and then we have David Icke with his garbage about reptilians and saying the Anunnaki are reptilians. Look, all of this is trash. All you have to do is if you want to know what the Anunnaki look like, look in the mirror. Because it says, and even these double agents who claim that the Anunnaki are this, that and the other, even they say that we are made in the image of the gods of the Anunnaki. And all you have to do is look in the mirror. Or look at the statues from Sumer and Babylon. Look at the reliefs. You can see that they're humanoid. Yes, they are a lot bigger than us. They're probably the size of a basketball player. What you would say an average size for a basketball player. And they were muscular. and but we look like them. There are only a few differences and changes. A few differences between us, and but we look like our creators, our family, our ancestors, the ones that love us, the ones that have fought for us many times to protect us. But of course, humans, they wanted to rule themselves. I'm not saying the gods ruled us, but they wanted to be independent of the gods. They wanted to kick the gods out. Because this is what happens with the human ego when it decides that the human being, the created, is more important and wants to be independent of divine will, of its own higher self, its own spirit. So the God said, okay, you can rule this world yourselves as you want. But the lesser gods stayed, and the lesser gods, knowing that humanity have the instincts or the nature to look for leaders, not dictators or rulers, to look for leaders. These lesser gods, called the Igigi, who were, I won't even say, I have to say lesser gods so you understand. They were the ones that were mating with humans and creating these grotesque beings. And they're also known as the fallen angels in the Bible. So these lesser gods, called the Igigi, who had rebelled against the Anunnaki, they'd fought a war with the Anunnaki, they hated humans because the gods loved us so much, and they put the Igigi to do work, and they didn't like it. They kept saying, why don't you give more work of running the world, of agriculture, of working the land, to the humans you created? And the gods said, you leave them alone. We're their children. The Igigi were not Anunnaki nation. They were a different race, a different species. So these Igigi, they stayed on Earth, knowing human nature, they want to be led. They went to them and they said to them, you know what? We know all the mysteries. We know how to give you advice and guide you. We're not like those gods that ruled you. We're not tyrants, which, the Anunnaki were not tyrants either. I mean, they basically left man to do what they wanted when they was residing on Earth. They were just keeping an eye on keeping the system and keeping the balance and the peace. And so when they were saying this to humankind, obviously they were the minority. The humans believed them, believing that they would guide them to keep order from the chaos in the world. And that's when it began with this false matrix and the enslaving of humanity. And they wanted to be the only ones with knowledge because humanity knew they was given civilization. But Enki also says to humans, with this gift of civilization, you are going to have joy but also sorrow. Because with civilization comes creation but also destruction. I'm not going to hide this from you. But you must know this. And once you take this civilization, once you take this knowledge and wisdom, you can never, ever give it back. So humanity was given civilization. They were taken over by these lesser gods who breeded with a certain race on Earth, which I don't want to say, who were the elite and running this world basically. But that's how we got into this situation. And the gods, they can't come back here because we began to vibrate at such a low frequency because we de-evolved. We forgot everything that we learned, all of the mysteries, because we'd been dumbed down by these religions that told us, don't look for the truth, believe what you're told and don't question it. We de-evolved. So the gods, they vibrate so fast that you can't imagine trying to be close to the god physically. So they had to incarnate on Earth as human beings and to do their mission on Earth that way. Now, I'm not saying that the Anunnaki are the only species, because when they began to create humanity, all of the tribes in the universal galaxy, they wanted to be represented on Earth. So even though we have different star souls on Earth, different star seeds, from the Pleiades, from Lyra, from all these different planets, but they are born within the form of the Anunnaki, meaning the image of the Anunnaki. And even though not everyone is an Anunnaki soul, or they were ever an Anunnaki, we're still the children of the gods. They still care about us, they still love us, and they still keep incarnating here, trying to make a difference and trying to destroy these matrix. Every aeon, there's more that come here to make a big change. And there are many of you out there who are Anunnaki nation. I'm not saying everybody's a god. I'm saying that the Anunnaki nation, those that serve the Anunnaki, those who come here to help awaken humanity and to spread this word. So this is my talk on the Anunnaki today. So we've covered the mysteries, the creational stories, the matrix that we're living in, and how we can escape it and destroy this matrix and take back our world that was given to us all earthlings, including creatures, all the animals. And this is why, another reason why the gods, they says to us, you must hurry up and do this Anunnaki Earth Council, because it's getting too much. And we want you to teach these different methods and techniques for people to exit from this matrix. Because unless you can see through it, you can't save yourself from it. We are the saviors. We are the ones that have to do this. And who are we? We are the Anunnaki. We are the saviors. We are the gods. This is why we save ourselves. We're saving, the Anunnaki are saving us in a sense, but they're doing it by us saving ourselves. So if they give us everything, they can't do everything for us. They can't do it all for you. They can give you the tools to do it, but you have to work hard. But it's there available. So I love you very much, and I hope you understand me a little bit more about why my passion is like this, why I am so committed and dedicated, is because when you know, I will say the truth because it's truth for me. When you know the truth and the root, and you see through it all, and you're learning, everything begins to make sense. You will not accept this false authority anymore on my brothers and sisters, on my planet. I love you very much. Bye-bye.